Good evening, all. Rinku, lovely to see you again. Naresh, and all the internationals, hockey, tennis, some cricketers. It's nice get together of sports-oriented Bengalis here. आदाब, सबको आदाब. सब्र आपका साथ दे और याद मेरा. I think we'll manage a good tribute to Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi, the greatest cricketer of all times. I never thought BCCI would ever give me a chance to talk about him. Talking about Tiger, one can't avoid being nostalgic. I don't know about you, Rinku, but I think of Tiger just about every day. His impact on my life, on my cricketing thoughts, was quite enormous. And in his book, The Tiger's Tale, he mentioned that in the country of the blind, one-eyed man becomes a king. And he wasn't far off, really. And the other blind, one-eyed bandit which comes to my mind was Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He was one-eyed too. ये दोनों सबको एक ही आंख से देखते थे, literally. But Maharaja Ranjit Singh's empire stretched from Lahore to Kashmir and Delhi, slightly bigger than Pataudi, right? Recently, they were celebrating 400th birth anniversary of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in Delhi. Many people came from Pakistan. Khushwant Singh was an authority on Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and there was a great function in Vigyan Bhavan. वहाँ हमें भी न्योता आ गया तो this is the time I think when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. So Khushwant Singh mentioned that Maharaja Ranjit Singh was absolutely illiterate. Tiger was from Oxford, but Maharaja Ranjit Singh was absolutely illiterate. और उनके दरबार में फ्रेंच भी थे, गोरे भी थे, जर्मन भी थे. और अगर उनको कोई कन्विंस करवा देता था ना कि हाँ ये स्ट्रेटजी ठीक है, ये पॉलिसी ठीक है, तो एक ही लफ्ज़ उनको लिखना आता था उर्दू में, सही. That's it. That means that let's go ahead with our strategy. And then Khushwant Singh turned around, aimed at Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and he says, Mr. Prime Minister, when are you going to learn to write the word Sahi? He asked, and the whole house came down. Now, that is the kind of authority which Khushwant Singh had. I wouldn't claim that I am as authoritative on Tiger Pataudi, but मेरी बड़ी तमन्ना है, बड़ी ख्वाहिश है कि मैं एक किताब लिखूं उनके ऊपर, अगर आप इजाज़त दें तो. Not terribly authoritative, no. But I think having spent so much of time with him on the field, off the field, Tiger had so much to offer to us from a cricketing angle, from a social angle. अब आप लोग काफ़ी familiar हैं, reading in the media also about sledging. Steve Waugh used to say it's not sledging anymore. We call it mental disintegration. टाइगर को कभी महसूस नहीं हुआ कि किसी को स्लेज करना है, किसी को गाली देनी है, to pressurize anybody, to disturb somebody's mental equilibrium. In fact, मैंने कभी सुना नहीं, honestly, कभी किसी को टाइगर ने हिंदी में, पंजाबी में या अंग्रेजी में किसी को गाली दी हो. And the only time which I would like to recollect, we were playing a test in Kanpur, it was cold, and while the team was batting, so we decided to sit out in the sun. बैठे बाहर तो suddenly थोड़े से बच्चे ना autograph hunters, they started jumping across and pushing and shoving like UPites do, you know. तो हम कूद के चलो भागो, टाइगर चलो भागो. We jumped the fence and came back to the dressing room. The only thing he said then, your parents should have never slept together. You know, he just refused to call them bastards. But that was Tiger, and on so many occasions, I would sort of probe him, provoke him. यार कुछ बोलो भाई, ये मौका है इस वक्त. अरे छोड़ो, छोड़ो. रहने दो ऐसे. And I say, you're too lazy. You must take a stand. आपकी आवाज़ अगर निकलेगी तो it'll carry. It'll have a lot of weight. And then one day we read, all right, ICC is the voice of cricket, and BCCI is the invoice of cricket. I said, that sounds good. But that invoice, we all know where we finished up. LP just mentioned that I don't know how I'm going to manage that, to be politically correct and to be diplomatically correct. I'm struggling, really. But this is, LP, you put me under a lot of duress. Tiger was the ultimate is the word in sportsmanship. I was watching this game from Pune, and Indians had exhausted their review DRS in the first 10 overs, chasing 430 odd runs. पहले 10 ओवर में दोनों reviews इन्होंने खो दिए. And then they were screaming on that kind of a treacherous surface. The number of LBWs which were given is quite unreal. I remember I was inspired once to do this umpiring test in Bangalore. I was inspired by my colleague Venkat Raghavan because he's the only person who played, captained, and umpired at Lord's. So I went for this test. वो टेस्ट है तो नाम मात्र ही था, मगर एक स्टेज ऐसी आ गई कि there were 3 former test umpires. 2 of them from Bengal, and there's one chap from South. They were asking me questions. It was a verbal kind of thing. So उनमें से one Bengal chap, he asked me, he said, Mr. Bedi, in what circumstances would you not give a man out LBW? So I explained, I said, well, I'll be very careful about the playing conditions, the weather conditions, and उन दिनों में it was impossible to get a man out lapping or laying in front. LBW नहीं मिलता था. I said, if I wasn't absolutely sure the ball is going to hit the stumps, I wouldn't give a man out LBW. उनमें से एक this chap says, will you give a man out LBW if he's played the ball? And I said, आप दे सकते हैं, आप देते भी आए हैं, because वो रिपोर्ट तो मैं देता ना एज ए कैप्टन, आप देते भी आए हैं, एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग दे डिस्कार्डेड मी कंप्लीटली, नहीं ये अंपायरिंग नहीं करेगा. I said, good, fair enough. That is your decision. But these kind of things, if Tiger was to indulge in or talk on behalf, he wouldn't do it. And I was really surprised when he took over the editorship of sports magazine from here, Sports World. And he did a pretty good job of it. Getting up early. That itself was an achievement. But whatever you may say, Tiger's charisma is, how shall I put it? This is, his regal approach to the game was amazing, absolutely amazing. और मैंने कभी भी उस इंसान को ये कहते हुए नहीं सुना कि मैंने वहाँ देखा वो कैच किया था जब मैंने उसको रन आउट किया, जब मैंने 150 रन किए. Never ever talked about himself. That to my mind was his greatness, greatest greatness. Never mentioned anything about himself. I remember after Tiger's death, Rinku, you brought out that book, Tiger, the Nawab of Cricket. And in fact, when I was launching that book, I told you also, I said, Tiger would not have approved of being the Nawab of cricket. He was such a humble man. He was a Nawab, all right. And I have often said this, that there are only 2 or 3 people, really, who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Tiger was one of them. The other chap which comes to my mind is Sourav Ganguly. And third, perhaps, would be Vijay Merchant. But the rest of us, we all belong to the Aam Aadmi Party, Average middle class, lower middle class people who worked hard or were privileged to work hard. Tiger was a Nawab, but he never behaved like one. Sourav Ganguly was not a Nawab, but he always behaved like one. Now, I don't wish to hurt the sentiments in any way, but LP, am I diplomatically, politically correct? We would like to mention here, this is again a tribute to Tiger, कि जो कुछ भी हरकत हुई है अभी तक on the cricket field, which is questionable, which is controversial, which is not libelous, as LP would mention, वो cricketers ने खुद की है. It has happened on the field of cricket. If I may be allowed to go back a bit, Douglas Jardine started the Bodyline series. जब वो 7 फील्डर होते थे behind the batsman, उस वक्त के फील्डर अभी 2 हैं. It was started by Douglas Jardine, a cricketer, not by any administrator. Subsequently, we have seen, I have been involved in a couple of incidents. LP mentioned about Jamaica, where there were bouncers galore. Jayanti bhai, you were not there on the trip. No. We were put in to bat in Jamaica. And Indians were 220 odd, I think, for 1 or 2. When, with the second new ball, this business of, if you can't get them out, hit them out like that. That was a strategy which worked for them for that particular period. But the net result of it all was that today a fast bowler's genuine weapon, a bouncer, is now curbed to 1 or 2. Again, something a cricketer has done it. So when the parent body takes notice, in my opinion, it is absolutely wrong कि even अगर bouncer wide जा रहा है, तो wide भी देते हैं, तो फिर ये भी कह देते हैं एक bouncer हो गया. Now I can't figure that out. If it is a wide, then they shouldn't be counted as a bouncer. But then अब लकीर के फकीर बनने की क्या जरूरत है? It is entirely up to the umpire's common sense. Is the bowler bowling a bouncer to get a man out, or is he bowling to intimidate the batsman? It happened in Sahiwal in one-day match, where we needed, I think, 20 odd runs with 6 wickets in hand when they started bowling bouncers out of the reach of the batters. Out of the reach. I remember, अब वो इतना माहौल खराब हो चुका था. Yeah, that tour, Morarji Bhai had sent us as ambassadors of goodwill. That goodwill is only one-sided. We faced a lot of hostility on that trip, a lot of hostility. And then that was, Sahiwal was the climax. I had to call them out. The Pakistani secretary then was Colonel Rafi Naseem, Secretary of Pakistan Cricket Board. He came up to me and he said, "Chalo beti sahab, khelo yaar, khelo, aa jao, chalo khelo." I said, "Kiske saath khelo bhai? Aap khel rahe ho kya?" Then he tells me कि आप ऐसा करो, विश्वनाथ की जगह किसी लंबे आदमी को भेज दो अंदर. You want me to change my batting order, but you don't want to change the tactics of your bloody team. I said, Rafi साहब, Colonel साहब, आप ऐसे करिए, चाहिए, because the tempers are very bad. I don't want anybody in this dressing room to tell you to F off, Tempers were really bad. आज क्या नौबत है, even in test matches, a bouncer which is going way above the head of the batsman, it is a wide. One day इसकी तो बात छोड़िए. It was just a question of taking a stand. I remember in Jamaica, when 4 or 5 of us got hurt, Ghulam Saab was then in Jamaica at that time. He was the secretary of the board. And I told Ghulam Saab, I said, if you don't say anything, don't expect me to keep quiet. I went, on the second day lunchtime, I went to talk to the umpires, there's Sang Hu, the Chinese chap who lived in Jamaica. And I asked them, I said, gentlemen, could you define intimidation for me? And Sang Hu, he said, Mr. Bed, you leave this country 3-day time. We live here. We don't want to die. I said, what? You don't want to die? You're not even playing. He said, no, this crowd will kill us. Now that is the kind of cricketing atmosphere we played in, without any helmet, without any covering of the wickets. But it was fun. It really was fun. Fun, taking a stand. I enjoyed it. If I was given another opportunity, I'll do the same. Subsequently, again, I'm talking about the mess that was created, that has been created by the players over the years. Can anybody tell me how did this referee came into the limelight, coming onto the playing surface with the 2 captains for the toss? It happened in Calcutta, at the Eden Gardens, when the toss itself was flaunted. Rishi was captaining India at that time, his first test match. And then the coin came down. वो कहते तुमने आपने जॉब जीता, वो कहते आपने जीता, वो कहते आपने जीता है. अब ये दोनों कैप्टन एक दूसरे को बोल रहे हैं आप जीते हैं, आप जीते हैं, आप जीते हैं. Vishy said, okay, अगर मैं जीता हूं तो ये बैटिंग फर्स्ट. That is how the referee came in. That is how, okay, can anybody tell me how did the match fixing take place? No, the administrators were involved in that. The players were involved in it. Chucking, again, the players party to it. It's just so happened that the parent body, the ICC, well, invariably it woke up a shade too late. पर चलो, अगर हम कह दें कि हाँ देर आए दुरुस्त आए तो भी सही. He was very supportive all along. And he would, at times he, pat my back at, यार कोई तो बोल रहा है ना कुछ. Now honestly, I'm not taking any credit for it. I was a very, very limited cricketer, very limited. LP mentioned about how would I have fared today in Pune. I don't think I would have been there. But the present lot of cricketers are 100 times fitter than what we were. I don't think I would have featured, honestly. No way. But looking at the state of today's game itself, he finished in less than 3 days. And some of the experts were saying that if Australians play well, they will lose 3-0. If they don't play well, they'll lose 4-0 as it is. Now, where do we head for? And with curator हमारे कौन होंगे? These kind of things never ever occurred. Honestly, never. The wicket की preparation क्या होगी? We all know Indian soil is low, slow wickets. Second, third day ball turn करेगा. अगर पहले दिन अश्विन ने बॉलिंग ओपन करनी है, first day itself, then we are giving room for unwarranted speculation. Ashwin definitely is a better new ball bowler than Tiger was, or Budhi Kundaran was, or Sunil Gavaskar was. But again, हम नियत की बात कर रहे हैं. Which brings me to a very pertinent present context. You mentioned about DDCA being run by an administrator. Even the BCCI is being run by a group of administrators. 4 of them, in fact. I have always maintained Tiger Pataudi was 50 years ahead of his time. Because the kind of atmosphere, dressing room atmosphere which he wanted to create, then we can see it now prevailing in the Indian dressing room. It's still floating around. His impact is still floating around in the Indian dressing room. Tiger was 50 years ahead of his time. Justice Lodha is 50 years too late. That is my personal assessment. I appeared before that panel, and I can say that now with a fair amount of conviction. I told Justice Lodha, I said, sir, your field is judiciary. My field is cricket. And Justice Lodha said, no, Mr. Bedi, no. I said, hang on, sir, I haven't finished. I said, you are trespassing into our territory. And he said, that is not mine. I said, no, please. I said, my fraternity has given you sufficient reason to do so. I'm ashamed. And what we read today and what we see today is the result of a tremendous amount of work that Justice Lodha and his team has done, all for the benefit of Indian cricket. And there's a lot we don't even know, most of us. Is still to emerge. And I find that this business of board of control for cricket in India, this control part has to go. Why can't it be Indian Cricket Board? Why should anybody control game of cricket? Cricket is too vast an expression of freedom of mind and body. It should not be controlled by anybody. Now we have Cricket Australia, we got Cricket South Africa, we got Cricket New Zealand. In England it is England and Wales Cricket Board. The only thing which is controlling cricket is India, nowhere else. Hopefully, inshallah, we will see that control bit being removed from the scene altogether. I have often wondered, honestly, ये जो चौधरियों की कुर्सी है, इसको कौन सी फेविकॉल लगी है? ये हटते क्यों नहीं यहाँ से? 30, 40, 50 साल से बैठे हुए हैं, छोड़ ही नहीं रहे. There was one, when I was playing for Punjab, there was a secretary called H.R. Mola. It was the only way he could have been replaced was by eventual death. Now you see, a lot of them are being shuffled thanks to Justice Lodha. But they are not coming to terms with this fact कि यार किसी और को भी करने दो कुछ. Personal रियासत बना के बैठो. And you're doing honorary job, honorary secretary, honorary treasurer, honorary president. I was told by a dear friend, Karsan Gavri, once, he said, आप सौराष्ट्र जाओ, Rajkot, and it's a dry place, but the kind of bar which the Saurashtra secretary has at his home would not be seen in any five-star hotel. And he's only honorary secretary. ये तब्दीली ज़रूरी है. I have said this on many a platform that 70 years we've been, for 70 years, yes, we've been politically free, not mentally. पहले हम गोरों के गुलाम थे, आज हम अपने हुक्मरानों के गुलाम. Now, when do we get hold of this mental freedom to decide for yourself? Today's political scene is pretty murky. How can any political party be bigger than the country? Whether it's Congress or BJP or whichever. That is the impression we are getting. And it's very painful to watch. Sports का show होता है आधे घंटे का on various channels. That also is कुर्बान किया जाता है जी political discussion के लिए. I'm very I think pretty strongly about it. यार स्पोर्ट्स को थोड़ा बढ़ावा तो दो, समय तो दो टीवी के ऊपर. Now that BCCI or Cricket Board is being cleaned up, some of the other federations and even the Indian Olympic Association, they are alerted, all for the benefit of Indian sport, if I may say so. When I first went to Supreme Court, we were the interveners in this particular case. So Manish Tiwari was our lawyer. You go into this, number one court where the Chief Justice sits. It's quite a feeling, You go and sit there, and whether you're sitting in the visitors gallery, right in the front, there's a logo, Satyameva Jayate. It hits you and goes down your system. It's almost like when I first visited Long Room at Lord's. That is how powerful that number one court at Supreme Court is. But we need to back up. क्योंकि हर बात के लिए पानी चाहिए, हरियाणा को पानी चाहिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाओ. तमिलनाडु को पानी चाहिए, कर्नाटक से सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाओ. क्रिकेटर्स को थोड़ा जस्टिस चाहिए, फिर भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ही करेगा हैंडल. हम क्रिकेटर्स नहीं कर पाते. I think the best tribute that we can all pay to Tiger Pataudi's memory is to feel concerned about Indian sport. Not just once in 4 years for the Olympics, or every time Indian team is playing at home, winning 19 test matches in a row. Bengal, to my mind, Calcutta, is the most outstanding sports-oriented state in the country. I made my debut here, and I remember, I was not in the original 14 or 15. I was just asked to go and practice with the boys in Calcutta. And I told my director in Punjab University that I'll be coming back for the inter-varsity games. तो लोहे का संदूक था, एक होल्डॉल लेके हम पहुंच गए यहाँ पे. I think Great Eastern Hotel. कोई जान पहचान नहीं किसी के साथ. तो मैंने सोचा हमारा कप्तान, मैं उसको I have played with him in Duleep Trophy. मैं सलाम तो करके आऊँ नवाब साहब को. I went to his room. He was pouring his first drink in the evening, He said, Bishan, आओ drink लो यार. मैंने कहा नहीं, मैं I don't drink. उस वक्त नहीं दारू पीते थे भी. तो नहीं आप now you're test cricketer. लो यार. I said, maybe test cricketer doesn't mean that you must have alcohol. But those were different days, different times, We used to socialize. I learned a lot from Tiger about socializing with the opposition. Once the game is over, then you interact with the opposition, have a drink together, have fun. We used to share rooms. आज के दौर में इनको सबको single room मिलती है. All of them. They don't share rooms. The only companion they have today is the laptop. उसके साथ आप कितना समय बता सकते हो constructively? Yeah, well, different times, of course. Times have changed, and I am given to understand, many of you would also perhaps suggest, that this game has changed. I beg to differ here. The game hasn't changed one bit. Still 22 yards, जो वकवा है from stump to stump. The height of the stumps is still the same. The width of the stumps is still the same, 9 inches. 28 inches, 28 inches and a half is the height of the stumps. Weight of the ball is still the same. Weight of the bat has increased a bit, like myself. But the game is still the same. Yes, the actors, the directors, the producers have changed. गेम में तब्दीली नहीं आई ज़्यादा, सोच में तब्दीली आई है, जरूर आई है कि एक खिलाड़ी जो टेस्ट क्रिकेट खेल रहा है, he's got one eye, one ear, very closely attached to the IPL. Tiger was, I think for 1 or 2 years he was the director on the governing council. Most reluctantly he was there. I used to discuss it. I would tell him, ये क्या कर रहे हैं आप? तबाही मचा रहे हैं आप इंडियन क्रिकेट की. मैं फंस गया. I said, no, get out of here. But he was such a nice human being, he couldn't say no. Now we have a monster staring at us. I was reading day before yesterday a story of 3 or 4 young kids from rags to riches, media carried it. But nobody knows the story of from riches to rags. Kitne bache hain because of IPL? Now I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not. It is my very personal opinion. How can you possibly get more money playing for a wretched club than playing for the country? I have personally inquired. I've been to Bombay, Madras, Delhi. मैंने कई लोगों से पूछा, आपने टिकट खरीदी है IPL की? I don't know how many sitting here who might have bought a ticket to watch an IPL match. Delhi, in any case, buying a ticket in Delhi is out of question. Because if you buy a ticket, you're nobody. दिल्ली में तो ऐसा माहौल नहीं है कि everybody is somebody. But I have not been able to understand the economics of it all. ये पैसा आता कहाँ से है और ये जाता कहाँ है IPL का. Second edition of IPL was held in South Africa. And the amount of foreign exchange which was taken out of the country was unreal. अभी तक उसका कोई account नहीं. Nobody knows. The couple of people who vanished from the scene. England is a very lovely place for this kind of shelter. It really is. और कानून भी ऐसा है, उनको प्रोटेक्ट करता है. Not for too long, I hope. Not for too long. I'd be the last person to complain about players making money, because we fought with our board officials. As amateurs we were playing. Professionalism came only in mid-90s. उससे पहले सब amateurs थे. We used to get smoke allowance. Whether you smoked or not was immaterial. Allowance was called smoke allowance. 250 रुपए एक मैच के. Test match. One test match, India beat New Zealand in 4 days. The board deducted 50 rupees. मैच जीते, मैच हारे नहीं, मैच जीते। और उन दिनों, this is just before I started playing, the names I can tell you who featured. There was Vinu Mankad, there was Pankaj Roy, there was Paulie America, Vijay Hazare, Vijay Manjrekar, all giants, Subhash Gupte. Nobody stood up to that nonsense. As a tribute, I think, to Tiger Pataudi's memory, we'll do well, all of us sitting here, that we should stand up for the betterment of Indian sports people. And not just cricketers, all Indian sports people. Whether tennis players or hockey players or wrestlers or shooters, they all deserve a better deal. मैं आपको एक छोटी सी बात कह के I'll finish कि आप हर शहर में आपको प्रोफेशनल डॉक्टर्स मिलेंगे, हर शहर में आपको इंजीनियर्स मिलेंगे, हर शहर में आपको पॉलिटिशियंस मिलेंगे, हर शहर में आपको बिजनेसमैन मिलेंगे, लॉयर्स भी मिलेंगे हर शहर में, फिलोसफर्स भी मिलेंगे, साइकोलॉजिस्ट भी मिलेंगे। हर शहर में आपको ओलंपियन नहीं मिलेगा। हर शहर में आपको टेस्ट क्रिकेटर नहीं मिलेगा। That is the kind of respect I have for people who represent the country on merit. Selection is always on merit. धांधलेबाजी होती है, इलेक्शन में होती है, सिलेक्शन नहीं हो सकती। If I may finally diverge a little away from, because Tiger, we talk about his one-eyed business, that he was unfortunate. Yes, he was. But the other side of the story is that he had massive courage of conviction, the character, to come out of it. He was not looking for lip sympathy. Not, never. बड़ा खूबसूरत कीर्तनिया रागी, वो ब्लाइंड सूरमा उसको बोलते, बट वेरी वेरी आउटस्टैंडिंग। मेरी गुफ्तगू उनसे हो रही थी तो मैंने ऐसी गुस्ताख सवाल पूछा उनसे, आई रियली कर्स्ड माय सेल्फ आफ्टरवर्ड्स। मैंने कहा आपको तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती होगी। कहते क्यों? हम टॉकिंग है। मैं काहे की प्रॉब्लम? मैंने कहा आप जन्म से ऐसे हैं, निगाह नहीं है, जन्म से अंधे को क्या बोलेंगे हम? अंधेरा ही अंधेरा है। कहते नहीं, यू नो व्हाट ही टेल्स मी, ही सेज नहीं बेदी साहब नहीं, मैंने तो कभी अंधेरा देखा ही नहीं। A blind man is telling me, मैंने तो कभी अंधेरा देखा ही नहीं। And I felt so small. He said, देखो, अगर आंखें चाहिए ना रोशनी देखने के लिए, आंखें चाहिए अंधेरा देखने के लिए भी। तो हम उस अंधेरे से निकले बाहर, which is gripping our sport, which is destroying the potential of our sports people. Thank you very much for your patience. And thank you, Rinku. Thank you, Telegraph. Thank you, Bengal Club and the Grand. I'm very privileged. I'm going to cherish this evening for the rest of my life.
I've been asked to say a few words. So, as Lokendra said, this is the 6th edition of this Tiger Memorial Lecture. For continuing this lecture, and keeping Tiger's memory alive, and this wonderful city of Calcutta that both of us loved. And every year they have had wonderful speakers, and they have informed and entertained us. But I must say, Bishan, this is the first serious lecture reflecting on the spirit of the game. And I really thank you for it, because it's really, you have addressed openly what's happening, and in a way also have reflected what's happening in the country. So I think India first, and I've seen many interviews of yours, and everywhere you have said that when Tiger came, he said, you're not playing for Punjab, you're not playing for Bengal, you're not playing for, but you're playing for India, and India comes first. I think you really brought that forward today, that sports, as a sportsman, you know, playing for India has to be bigger than playing for IPL. Wow. So I think privileging commerce over your basic dedication of the sport, I think you really brought that forward, and I really thank you for it.
Thank you.